I really feel like that together they came up with the wrong conclusion. But, you know, at least they were on the same page about something. You know what I mean? Kylo, I want to fight. Yo, let's talk about this episode of Bel Air. But before we get into everything, y'all like my background? So I just got me some LED lights and I was like, let's try like a little situation with some of my videos just to kind of switch things up a little bit. These LED lights are kind of cool and I like the vibe it gives. Getting into this episode of Bel Air, so good. I'm not gonna even lie, y'all, I shared a couple of thug tears or two. It happened. So if you guys haven't checked out my episode 7 recap, I'll leave a card above. That way you can kind of see a few of my viewpoints from the last video. That being said, let's go ahead and get into the episode because there is literally so much to unpack. Episode 8 is called Nobody Wins When the Family Feuds. Synopsis reads, as the Banks family celebrates Will's birthday, his mom comes to visit, causing unexpected tension. The adults consider whether it's time to tell Will about his father. A lot going on in this episode, even just from that. Like, oh my god. When I tell you guys, this episode had me on an emotional roller coaster. There was moments where I was so happy and had a lot of joy. There was moments that pissed me off and I was so mad, ready to throw my phone at the TV. And then there were moments where I shed a thug tear or two. And the cinematography was top tier. Like the way this show is shot is just so beautiful. Like, it looks so good on camera, and like just to see black people in that element is just so dope to me. This episode. And I also want to say that the theme of tonight's episode is relatability. There were moments throughout the show where we were able to relate to a lot of the characters. Like, it was good really seeing Carlton talk about his experience since Will got there. You saw some relatability in Hillary, how she's navigating, trying to stay true to herself and not selling out, but trying to pursue her career at the same time. And then you get Vi's experience, which is Will's mom. You get her experience of having to always carry all the weight on her back. It kind of reminds me of that song from Encanto. What is it called? Surface Pressure. If you haven't seen Encanto, first of all, go watch Bruno. But the whole episode is centered around Will's birthday, and boy, when I tell you, if my family pulls some mess like this on my birthday, first of all, on my birthday every year I always end up crying. I have a vlog about that. I'll leave a card above. If my family were to add some stress onto me like this on my birthday, I would be pissed, because Will had to deal with a whole lot, having to make sure that that Aunt Viv and Vi, he had to really just kind of be the peacemaker between the two, it seemed like, all episode. So yeah, I ain't like that. The episode opens up really with Uncle Phil and Carlton on the golf course, and basically in the scene we understand that Carlton is there as the caddy because that's his punishment for the party. And first of all, let's get into this party situation and why they're being punished, because I really just feel like, honestly, it's bogus that they're being punished at all, because they knew, and they mentioned last episode, that they knew that Will and Carlton were throwing a party and having some friends over. They may not have known how many friends, but they always hosting parties in that Banks house. They could have left them alone. And they did leave them alone, which is why things transpired. Let's be clear. But I think this scene was really important because Carlton was able to see that, you know, everything's not always about Will. He basically tells Carlton, like, look, buddy, like, you know, I'm gonna do whatever I have to do to protect your future. I feel like that was a realization moment for Carlton, like, hey, everything's not about Will. And it probably, I think it made him kind of come to his senses, as we see throughout the episode, that Carlton has indeed come around. Like, he's you know, thinking more logically, if that makes sense. But we also see in this scene the interaction that Phil is having with one of the donors. He's trying to ask for an endorsement, basically, and the guy's basically letting him know, like, hey, no, you're not getting my endorsement because your family's running rampant out here in these streets. You know, your daughter out here making thirst traps on the gram, your son out here throwing wild parties that the police are involved, and your wife is not supportive. And I said this last episode, that this party is going to throw a monkey wrench in Phil's campaign. No, I did that. I knew it. So let's talk about Hillary for a second. I was so glad to see that she was sticking to her guns. The thing that I love the most about Hillary is that she's always been true to herself and true to her brand, and she was unwilling to waver from that just for success. And last episode, she disappointed me, and so I was glad to see her take a step back and really think about, like, who she is and what her values are and what her morals are and what she stands for, and realize that, hey, even though this video might have done well, I know that I can stay true to myself and still get the same numbers. And I loved seeing how she interacted with Jazz and she apologized to him for basically how she treated him. So that was dope as well. Let's talk about Kylo. He was super manipulative in the way he was talking to Hillary and trying to get her to continue. And when she confronted him, I'm not going to do this super sexy content because that's not what I stand for. I'm going to stay true to myself. I'm going to keep my brand endorsements and you're just going to have to deal with it. And he didn't like that. He was like, oh, well, I did a little background search on you and I realized that you always run from XYZ and have these online personas and XYZ. She's like, hold on, wait, pump your brakes. I was young, discovered myself, that ain't me. Basically, she was like, fuck off. Her words, not mine, mom. Whatever the consequences are, I'll deal with them, but I'm not doing this and I'm not selling out just for the sake of likes for the gram. Kylo, I want to fight. Last video I was talking about how Phil want the problem. Let me recant my statement. Just the way Phil was acting in this episode really opened my eyes a little bit to the kind of guy he is. Is that the type of guy you are? In the first episode, Jazz was like, yeah, this city will make you lose track of who you are, where you come from, like that. Don't let it do that to you. And I think that has happened to Uncle Phil. I feel like that's like an overarching theme here, but I don't like it. I don't like it. I ain't like his interaction that he had with Vivian. And he's basically like, why you didn't have my back when we were confronting Hillary? You know, we supposed to present this united front. You gonna bring that mess to her while she in the middle of working on her work in her creative space, and you done came in and messed up the vibe. You done came in and brought this bull to her while she in there trying to reconnect with her passion, while she trying to work on a nice piece of art. I don't like that. Like, you are lost in the sauce, sir. Like, and I just really didn't. I ain't really want that for you, bro. I really did. Shit bothered me a little bit. I ain't gonna even cap. And his interaction with Jeffrey, that honestly just made me hate him a little bit, because I'm like, bro, how you coming at Jeffrey like this and he has your back and does everything for you? You gonna talk to him like that? That you are treating the people who are the most supportive to you like they're trash and like they're discardable because you want this sense of power and this what I say and what I say goes. Like, that was so bogus to me. You're telling Jeffrey to come in between a man and his son relationship. I feel like anytime that there are kids involved and that both of their parents are alive and breathing, I think that they should have the opportunity, regardless of how things unfolded in the past, I think that they should have the opportunity to explore a relationship with their parents. I think sometimes kids have to come to their own conclusions about their parents, which is why I don't like situations where it seems like a parent is bashing another parent in front of a child, things like that, because I think it breeds toxicity and it's implanting this seed in the child's mind prematurely. You know, they should plant that seed on their own. Jeffrey's like basically telling you like, hey, let that be up to Will whether or not he wants to have a relationship with his father. I have not always been the best guy, but I have a son. Thinking about what you're asking me to do does not align to who I am. And so that was dope that Jeffrey had that stance. And here goes Phil in his power bag talking about some, oh, well, you work for me, so you do what I say. Alright, bet. And that's why Jeffrey was about to drop off that resignation letter, or Will ask for that favor at the end, because that shit was not cool. And then it also feels like Phil has this relationship with money where he feels like he can solve everything. I feel like Jeffrey isn't working for the Banks family just because of the money, like, and whatever access he gets. It's because he really cares about the family. And then it's just like, well, damn, you know, I thought we had this type of relationship between us. I've always looked out for you, and I thought you would always look out for me. I feel like people shouldn't always have, especially people in power, people with money shouldn't always have yes men around them. And Jeffrey was that guy. He's like, no, what you're asking me to do is some bullshit, honestly, and that's not what I stand for. It also was revealed that Phil is all about the money when Vi and Viv were having a conversation about caring for their mother when she got sick. Vi's talking about how she had to take care of their mom alone, and he's like, oh, well, we sent money. Money helps. It helps to pay the bills, but like, what about the labor? You know, like, what about like actually being there and being present and, you know, spending time with mom before she passed, or, you know, helping with, you know, caring for her. Like, I had to do all of that on my own, as well as raise a teenage boy. I don't know, I ain't like that. And I'm trying to get to everything before I even get into the conversation about Vi and Viv. Get into everything first, and then I'm gonna come back to the main topic of the episode. Let's get into Carlton and Will. Last episode ended with Carlton basically finding out about Lisa and Will being upstairs in Will's room, and obviously we know what happened, you know what I mean? So like the whole episode, we're left wondering, like, and we're seeing Will and Carlton interact. We saw Carlton giving Will the side eye during that breakfast scene, like, you disgust me, get away from me while you standing beside me. Like, you see it, but you see Carlton kind of like pull back and be like, whatever, it's your birthday, I'm not doing all this today. So like dancing around each other the whole episode. But at the end of the episode, we see them have the conversation finally. This scene was so great to me. It felt really good to see them kind of talk out their differences for a change, because before it's just like a whole lot of assuming going on, and we're not really discussing what's going on. We have these issues and they're unsolved, but we're not talking about it. And it was really good to see them talk out their issues. And Will is basically like, what's the problem? See, like, tell me what's going on. And so he's like, is me dating Lisa the issue? Is that gonna continue to be the issue? Because I need to know. And he let Will know that basically, like, you know, since you got here, it seems like you just naturally have everything that I have to work so hard for. Like, you have the social aspect, you know, everybody likes you, you know, and I have to really work hard to develop my reputation and develop, you know, my friend circle, and you just came and it's just naturally handed to you, and it caused me to spiral. Seeing you and Lisa was just the straw that broke the camel's back, basically. And Will was able to really see where Carlton was coming from. And honestly, this scene made Carlton so much more relatable. I said this at the beginning of the episode, but we're able to see Carlton being like the level head here. And we're not used to that the entire series. And I also want to talk about the relationship Will has with his mom. I love their relationship. Aside from just being like mother and son, like, you can tell that there's like really genuine love there. Like, he really like admires his mom, and like even just like the way that he introduced Lisa to his mom, and we're able to see that, and just the way he was looking at them interact. And it was just so dope to see. And the looming question that he has for her is like, tell me about my dad. And she's deciding to keep things a secret from him. And so I really feel like that's going to be really heartbreaking for him once he finds out exactly what happened with his dad. And I'm really going to hate to see that, but I obviously it's going to happen. All right, let's get into the nitty gritty and talk about Vi and Viv. Like, there's a lot going on. Like, the whole episode was just really tense. I was telling my sister about how I feel sometimes when I'm around my family. Sometimes things with family, that things get tense, come together. I just want everything to go peaceful and smooth, which most of the time it does. But you know, it's family. You know, we have disagreements sometimes, and sometimes they go left. I always have, especially on holidays like this, anxiety sometimes, because I'm like, dang, I hope nobody gets into an argument, or I hope everything goes by smoothly. And like, this whole episode was triggering for me, because we already know it. We've seen, and they've hinted at the interaction between Vi and Viv throughout the first 7 episodes. And so to actually have her in the Banks house, or to have Vi in the Banks house, I was on edge. It was tense. The moment she landed, like the awkward hug situation, and then when Vi gets to the house, the conversation about taking care of their mom when she got ill came up, and just seeing them go back and forth about that. Then you see the good interaction between them at the breakfast scene, where Vi is telling Carlton about some of his mom's secrets, which I thought was really a really cute scene. And then it's revealed that Vi actually bought Vivian her first canvas and paint set, and we see that Vi really cares about Vivian's passion. Like, even throughout the whole episode, you can see that the love is there. It's just that relationship is strained, and they really need a conversation. And I think that really highlighted a lot of like where the breakdown in their relationship came from, even navigating throughout the episode, because even Will said it, like, y'all are so much alike and y'all don't want to admit it. And throughout the episode, one of the looming questions is to actually telling Will about his father, which initially, you know, Vi brought up like, hey, you know, Will's 17, maybe we should tell him now. But Vivian is like, no, you know, he gonna hate us. Like, are you sure you want to do that? And like, so throughout the episode, like, you know, Lou, which is Will's father, his name keeps being brought up. Will asked about him, you know, and for the bulk of the episode, Vi and Viv had dissenting views about whether or not Will was ready to receive that information, but at the end of the episode it was just kind of like, yeah, maybe this is not the good time to tell him, like, you know, let's wait a little bit, wait till he's a little bit older, which I feel like they should. I don't know, I'm kind of torn on this, and you guys leave a comment in the comment section below. Let me know what you think about it. But I honestly think it's time to tell Will, just because he's curious. I could see if he really wasn't thinking about it that much and it wasn't on his mind, but the fact that he's curious, he's going to find out answers. So it's better for them to tell him now versus him find out on his own, and then he feels like everybody around him is lying to him. You know what I mean? And that's going to be traumatic for him, and he's going to really feel like, who can he trust? I really feel like that together they came up with the wrong conclusion, but you know, at least they were on the same page about something, you know what I mean? Now let's get into where things kind of went crazy for Vi and Viv. During the scene where they're at Will's birthday dinner and he's opening up his gifts, we see that Vi gave him a really thoughtful gift. She gave a picture of her and Will that he had never seen before, and he's like, who took this picture? Look, you asking too many questions. Just, do you like the gift? Do you like the picture? Do you like the frame? Go put it in your room, because you're doing too much at this point. And then Vivian presents her gift, which is a pair of Air Jordans signed by Michael Jordan himself, and that's where they kind of butt heads, because Vi feels like you're using your money and success to kind of ice me out, basically. And then Vivian's like, we just did this because, you know, we felt like it was something that he was gonna like I'm not doing anything to upstage you. And so they have this big argument. Vivian's like, you're just mad because I'm successful. Vi is basically like, you don't acknowledge me for any part of your success. Like, you stood on me and mom's back to get to this point. You literally are successful based on all the sacrifices that everybody had to make around you. You ain't that girl, sweetheart. That's basically what she was saying. It was a bad argument. Y'all saw it. Like, during that argument, I got emotional, so my thug tears started building up right here in my eyelid. And so by the time that Carlton comes in and he has the conversation with Vivian, like, well, do you really know why she's upset? Like, have you considered how she's feeling? So Carlton asking her that question kind of revealed, like, hey, you know, I never really considered the fact that Vi is doing everything alone. I just always thought she was the strong one, and honestly, that's a lot to carry. She's having to do everything alone. And so that opens the door for like a real conversation between them. And that, like, when I tell you that scene was so beautiful to me, like, I literally broke down crying, because it was just beautiful kind of seeing them, you know, despite all their differences, kind of realize that, like, hey, there was a misunderstanding here. There was a breakdown in communication, and like, let's work on being better sisters to each other. So it was really beautiful to see, and like, just even that realization. And I feel like a lot of times in arguments, you have these breakdowns in communications because you assume that somebody is feeling a certain way. You assume that what someone presents to you is law. You don't necessarily think about like everything that they may be experiencing inside. Just on the outside, it looks like, you know, someone has it all together, or they have all the answers, or they always want to argue, or whatever the situation is. We don't really take a second and think like, well, why is it that they act like this, or why is it that they feel like this? Or we don't ask those questions. We always just kind of like assume. And so it was really good to see them just kind of come to an understanding, for each of them to own their part and just decide to move forward. So I was really glad to see that, and it was a really beautiful episode, because it felt like, and I do feel like this is going to be short-lived, but it felt like, aside from Phil and Jeffrey's interaction, that everybody's kind of on the same page, whereas Phil is over here like where he need to be. And I hope, and he about to go through it in the next couple of episodes, I already feel it, like he's really like burning all his bridges, and I hate it for him. But you know what, sometimes people gotta learn the hard way, you know what I mean? Overall, 10 out of 10 would recommend. This was a really good episode. So many Easter eggs dropped throughout the episode that at the end it was just like, oh my god, this is really great. And it was really great for everybody to just kind of like come together as a family. So I believe this season has 10 episodes, so I'm really excited to see what plays out in the next 2 episodes. And yeah, that's my recap, review, whatever you want to call it, on episode 8 of Bel Air. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know in the comment section what you think. Let me know if there was something that I missed or did not mention. And yeah, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Scroll on down the page, find a subscribe button, click subscribe. And while you're at it, there's a bell icon sitting right beside that subscribe button. I'm gonna need you to click that. That way you can be notified every time I upload a new video. You know what I'm saying? Check out the description box. You'll find links to all my social medias. That way you can follow me everywhere that I am. And also, I just really appreciate you guys for sitting through this with me. I rambled a lot. I hope I made sense. Anyway, you guys, until next time, I'm out. Bye.